Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT. We're the quasi-independent agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. So we've had a lot of great guests on this program. My gosh, over 100 episodes in at this point, which is incredible. But I've been wanting to have this next guest on for some time because I've known him for years. He's a great activist for better transportation and mobility across all modes. And just a fascinating guy with a really interesting history that we'll get to learn more about. Welcome to the program, Harry Gottlieb.
Javier, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, now people who watch Miami's community newspapers regularly, probably know you already because you host your own podcast, right?
Yes, I am honored that the Miller brothers have granted me the opportunity to host a podcast, and we're calling it Pillars of the Community, where we celebrate individuals, businesses, institutions, and organizations that support and benefit our community.
And there are so many to choose from. So I think it's a brilliant concept. You know, you're not stuck on one subject like I am here on Mobility Matters. You could really branch out and talk to a wide variety of people, right?
We have a lot of not-for-profits. We have some businesses and some very incredible outgoing individuals to be invited.
And then on occasion, you have a dud on your program like Javier Betancourt, who's going to, I think, be a future guest, right?
Yes, Javier Betancourt is actually going to be on very, very soon. I think it's a week or two from now. Yeah. And he's truly a Renaissance man that has a great knowledge of books. He interviews authors. He's written a book recently that I'm starting to read. I think I'm on page 107, if I'm not mistaken. So I've got to do some serious reading before I get to interview him. But the book has been fascinating, and he's an amazing individual, and he's involved with transportation as well.
Wow, he sounds really, really interesting. And
really looking forward to it.
You forgot to mention handsome.
Very handsome. That's true. That's very true.
All right, all kidding aside, let's talk transportation. I know that's your passion.
Yes.
Why is it that you're passionate about transportation and mobility? Like, is that something you just kind of fell into? Because it wasn't necessarily your profession, in your career. It seems to have been something that you're just passionate about. So when did that grow?
I am passionate about transportation. I've been to many cities that have wonderful transportation systems and that have wonderful bike trails and bike lanes. And Miami, unfortunately, is not exactly one of them. Yeah. We are like I am, like all of us, a work in progress. Yeah. And we have to be patient, and hopefully before we're all gone, we'll have a better bike system, we'll have a better transportation system. But I am passionate about it. I am a bike commuter. I no longer have a car. I actually can survive in South Florida without a car, which is really quite amazing.
And you've been doing that for years, right?
I've been doing this for about 15 years.
Wow.
And I have two bikes. I have a Pinarello that I use for exercises, mostly to go down to Black Point Marina once or twice a week, but it's usually on the weekends, of course. And then I use a Brompton folding bike, which is a commuter bike. It's an amazing bike, which I have here today and we'd like to show you.
So it's under the table here for those. This is the bike in one iteration, and you're going to see how it magically folds into something else. It's fascinating. Tell us the history behind this bike.
This bike comes from England. It's a Brompton. It was designed in 1975, and it's sort of the Rolls-Royce, or let me say this, it's the Rolex of bikes, because there's a lot of knockoffs of this particular bike that folds into thirds. And it comes from England. They make about 90,000 a year. And it's just an amazing bike that you can purchase online, or you can get at a bike store. There's a couple of bike stores here in town that represent it. One is Brickell Bike Store near the Metro Rail Station off of Brickell, and the other one is Miami Beach Bike Store, which is where I bought mine. And I tested out. There's different incarnations of the bike. Some have 2 gears, 3 gears, 4 gears. This one happens to have 6 gears. This one's made out of steel. There's one that's got steel and it's got titanium. Another one's got all titanium, which is the one I'm lusting for. But it's about $5,000.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing bike, and it's really light. But it's wonderful. You don't have to worry don't have to worry about it being stolen because it's always with you. If you go into a restaurant or a coffee shop, you bring it in, and if they give you if they give you a nasty eye or a nasty look, you say, "Let me just fold it up and I'll put it in the corner." So it freaks them out when they see how this bike folds up so uniquely, and you put it in the corner, and then they ask you about it, and then you help to sell another bike. But it's just a great bike, and I've taken it on many trips, and it's a great touring bike so that you can take it on in a car. You can put it in the trunk of the car. If you get a flat tire, you can call Uber, and they'll come and pick you up. And you can take it on Amtrak. You can take it on a plane. You can fold it up. When it's folded, it's got little wheels called easy wheels that you can use as like luggage. You can roll it, and it's just so practical. So the bike is always with me, and I can't rave enough about it because it'll actually change your life for the best.
It's like an extension of you at this point.
Yes, it truly is.
Folks, get ready. This is actually our first demo here on Mobility Matters. I'm excited about that. And now Harry's going to show us how this thing works, because, I mean, you can see how small it is now, which in and of itself is incredible. And then it's going to be really neat for you to see what it turns into. So that snaps into place there. Quick turn of the knob. All right. Of course, the seat comes up. Beautiful saddle, by the way. I love that. That's very British craftsmanship there. And boom, you have a bike. And it's comfortable.
Very comfortable.
And it's obviously well made. You've had this thing for multiple decades. So there you go. The Brompton 2000. No, what's it called? The Brompton.
It's called the Brompton.
Just the Brompton.
And you can adjust the seat post to be your height, so that when you drop it down.
Look at that. Oh yeah, let's see it in reverse now, because it's incredible how quickly this thing folds too.
Okay, the first thing you want to do.
Yeah, let's start that again.
So in reverse.
In reverse. Here we go. No pressure. That tucks in there. Undo that. That quickly snaps into place. Roll. That comes down. And the saddle goes down. Bada bing, bada boom, as we say. There you have it. The Brompton, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! And I think we should send this to Brompton, because they need to pay you some kind of commission for selling it so well.
I would think so. I would think so. I can't tell you how much I enjoy this bike. I've been to Vancouver. I've been to Seattle. I've been to Victoria, as I mentioned earlier. I've traveled to Savannah and Charleston via train. And like I said, once you arrive at a destination, you assemble the bike, which takes 5 seconds, and you are free to explore the city. It's just wonderful.
And it's great just even locally. It's a great first last mile solution. So, you know, we're trying to promote biking in general as a commuting option, but then you have, you know, how do you get this large bike onto a train? Do you want it on the train? Do you start getting looks from the other passengers because it's so bulky? You know, if you can't take it into your office, you have to keep it somewhere and hope it doesn't get stolen. This solves a lot of those problems.
In Europe, this is really popular in major cities in Europe and also in Japan. And there are a lot of trains in Europe that don't allow bikes.
Right.
You have to have a folding bike because it gets crowded. And this particular bike, which is the Rolls-Royce or the Rolex of bikes, you can fold it up before you get on the train. And if it's really crowded, you put it between your legs. And you are actually protecting the bike, and you're protecting the passengers from being, you know, slamming into the bike.
Now, the true test will be, and you said this bike has been everywhere.
Yes.
You need to take it to Tokyo. Let me see if you could get it on one of those trains.
I don't know about that. We can give it a try.
Literally pushing people on the train. They're so
But I must tell you that I use this bike. I live in Coconut Grove, and I'm closest to the Douglas Metro station. And I'm constantly riding my bike to the Douglas Metro station and going north or south, depending on what I want to have for breakfast. And I get on the train and I go, and it's so convenient. And I also take the Underline, of course, constantly. And the Metro Rail is just the perfect The Metro Rail is the perfect vehicle for this particular kind of transportation. As you said, first and last mile. It's very convenient. And if the elevators are not working or the escalator is not working, you can take this bike upstairs or downstairs without any difficulty.
Yeah, I picked it up when you were previewing it, and it's as light as a feather. Maybe not a feather.
Not a feather.
Light as a bird. Well,
yes.
The whole bird. So that's a good transition to transit, right? So not only are you passionate about biking, and we could continue to talk about that, but you're equally passionate about transit.
Yes.
And in fact, you've dabbled in some form of transit in a former life working for Freebie. So
yes.
Tell us about what you did for Freebie, and let's talk about transit overall and why you're so passionate about that as well.
So I had a wonderful 5 years working with Freebie. With Jason Spiegel, as you know him very well.
Shout out to Jason.
And we love Freebie, and Freebie is a wonderful system, and I help do government relations for them. So I worked with mayors, commissioners, administrators, and I also worked with the candidates that were running for office. And I would meet with them and tell them a little bit about transportation in general and about Freebie services in particular. And then when they got elected, they wanted to meet with us because they kept saying in their campaigns that they would like to have a transportation system like Freebie.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more like Freebie than Freebie. So we expanded into various markets: South Miami, Homestead, Florida City. We expanded into, when I was there, we expanded into Fort Pierce, Kissimmee, a bunch of other places. It was really a pleasure to work with them at the time.
Yeah, and that's probably whereabouts you and I kind of first met, right? Because
yes.
We had amended the ordinance to allow municipalities to use their halfpenny funds for on-demand transportation like Freebie.
Yes, depending on the population of the municipality. That's correct. We actually met at a party. We met at an underline party in the Midtown section. I was with this Colombian young lady. What's her name? Lily? Lily?
Oh,
there was
it was probably in Coral Gables at the time, right? I was, and I couldn't remember.
You were working for CITT.
Oh, I was at CITT
already. Yeah,
you
were at CITT,
okay.
and we met at a party. It was a rooftop party at a hotel restaurant or something like that in the Design District or near Midtown.
I have horrible memories.
And I think you had one of these pins on, as a matter of fact.
That's possible. I've had a collection. They all keep breaking on me.
Yes, I've got some extra ones in case you want.
Yeah, please, because I'm totally out. Here we go. The first demo, now the first gift I've received.
There you go.
All right, I'll put this on later.
Yes.
I don't do it well. So Metro Rail, let's talk about it. I know you're a frequent user. We know the system has its challenges, but
yes.
But you swear by it, right? It's a big part of your life.
It's a big part of my life. My life is really, whether it's good or bad, my life is determined by how far I'm willing to ride my bike from a Metro Rail station.
Yeah.
And if it's too far, I'll take Uber, with or without my bike.
Yeah. Now, an extension of that is I believe you also take Tri-Rail somewhat frequently, right?
Yes, I've taken Tri-Rail many times. I love Lake Worth. I like to take, whether this bike or I like to take the Pinarello up to Lake Worth and then ride up to West Palm Beach. They have this wonderful bike path. I think it's called Lake Trail in Palm Beach, actually in Palm Beach, and it goes up to the what's it called? The inlet, the Palm Beach Inlet. It's just wonderful. So you've got these millionaires and billionaire houses on the right. You've got the bike path, and then you've got the bay on the left, and it's wonderful. And there's benches out there. There's picnic tables. There's shade. It's just a wonderful experience. I wish we had more of those down here in Miami.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that Tri-Rail ended up getting their funding this year. You know, there was some danger of them ceasing to exist. It was a real danger. It
would be really, really sad and scary to not have Tri-Rail. There's a lot of people that depend upon it. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's some trains that they've removed half of the seats and they've replaced them with bike racks.
Oh, wow.
So you take your bike and you just slide it in there. And there are all different kinds of bikes that are there. Some are very sophisticated and some are very humble bikes. And some of the bikes are really rough looking. And I was curious to know where these people are going with these bikes. They've got the chains on it, and the seats might have a plastic thing on it. And it turns out that most of these cyclists, these bike people, have DUIs.
Oh, wow.
And they need these bikes
Yeah.
to get to work, or they would not survive. And if Tri-Rail did not exist, how would these people
Yeah.
feed their families?
Wow.
Because they can't drive. They have to combine a bike with a Tri-Rail system. So
Interesting.
it's very, very important that Tri-Rail continues.
Now, just to clarify for the viewing public, you don't ride your bike because you have a DUI, right? You ride it. It's a
No,
lifestyle
not at all.
choice.
No, thank you for clarifying that. I hadn't thought of that. People might jump to the conclusion, but no, that's not the case whatsoever.
Yeah. And by the way, I have to give Commissioner Raquel Regalado a huge shout out. She had played a major role in getting that funding for Tri-Rail so that they can continue on.
Good for her.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, we jumped right into all this stuff, and I neglected to ask you about your background. So someone looking at your name, Harry Gottlieb, or maybe even looking at you, may not realize where you're from.
Well, my family is from Michigan, from Detroit, Michigan, but my mother is from Cuba.
Yeah.
So my mother and my father met here in Miami after the war. And I think they met probably in 45 or 46. 46 would be my guess. Because my older sister was born in Detroit in 47. So my mother and my father met, I think, in the Cameo Theater, or around the Cameo Theater. And then, so my older sister, Vicky, was born in Detroit in 47. I was born in 49. And my mother, after a while living in Detroit, missed the good life in Cuba. So she somehow convinced my father, who was Jewish, and my mother Catholic, that we should relocate to Havana. Oh. Unfortunately, the timing wasn't the best. So we moved to Cuba, and my younger sister, Claudia, was born in Cuba. And then the revolution came in 59, and we had to leave Cuba. So my father had invested a lot in Cuba, and he lost everything. And we came to the United States, and my parents opened up the first dry cleaners in Miami Lakes back in the early 60s. And that's how we got to know Miami Lakes, and that's how we got to know the Grahams, and I've become a fan of the Grahams ever since.
My stomping grounds, Miami Lakes.
Yes,
yeah,
I know.
What was the name of the cleaners? I'm wondering if it was
Miami Lakes Dry Cleaners.
Oh, it wasn't Carriage. Okay.
No, it was at the Miami Lakes Dry Cleaners. We were the first dry cleaners there. I think we were probably one of the first families that spoke Spanish.
Interesting.
In Miami Lakes. And we were at the Lake Patricia Shopping Center. Yeah. And there was a hardware store, and there was a dentist, and there was a ballet company, and there was a 7-Eleven. I think Garcia, Bob Garcia or Bill Garcia was the owner of the hardware store, and I did some work at the hardware store. And I dug ditches with his brother. We put in sprinkler systems on the weekends, and so I got to work with the hardware store installing the sprinkler systems in many homes down in the Miami Lakes area.
Awesome. So you're not quite a native Miamian, except, I think by Miami standards, we could probably consider you one at this point. Correct. And then did you go to school down here, or where'd you?
I went to Monsignor Edward Pace High School, kicking and screaming. I wanted to go to Carroll City Junior High. I was in Carroll City Junior High. I wanted to go to Carroll City Senior High. And my mother, being Catholic, wanted me to go to, apparently we couldn't afford Columbus or Belém, and besides, it was too far away. So I got admitted to Pace, and like I said, I went there kicking and screaming. I really didn't like it, but then I got involved in tennis, and I got involved in theater, and I was in a couple of plays, South Pacific and Camelot, and that became a really good experience. Oh, and I became a photographer for the yearbook. So I got involved in all those things, and it turned out to be a pretty good experience. It was really interesting because I met a lot of Peter Pan kids. Yeah. And I got to practice my Spanish because my Spanish wasn't particularly great at that time. And I got to practice my Spanish, and it really worked out well because since my Spanish was so rough, I was very embarrassed to speak Spanish. And then finally I decided I really have to pick this thing up a notch or two. And so I made a lot of friends with the Peter Pan kids, and I spoke a little bit more Spanish.
And then fast forward a few years, and I don't know if you had a career in this beforehand, but you had a moment where you were the film czar of Miami. And I don't think that was the actual title. But how did you end up in that role? And what are some of the things?
So
that
my
you did?
background is media.
Is media.
My background was Spanish radio. I worked for WQBA, AM and FM.
BQBA, La Cubanísima.
But I worked mostly for Super Q, and I had some wonderful experiences there. I was one of the few gringos there, and George Hyde was the major director, and then we had Guillermo Mota on the AM side, that was the director, and on the FM side we had Maria Elena Llanza, and she was my boss. And it was just an amazing experience. I was like a rock star in a way, or the closest thing I've ever been to a rock star, because I got invited to wonderful events, 440 and Binomio de Oro, and Las Perlas Negras, and Joe Arroyo, and Celia Cruz, and all this kind of stuff.
Cool.
So it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I had some national accounts. I had the Florida State Lottery. I dealt with Sanchez and Leviton and all those different things. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. So while I was there, I met Tomas Regalado, who I've always admired. And Tomas was an on-air personality, and we met. And at the time, I decided to go after the Miami International Film Festival to get them as an account, because I wanted to go to the films and I wanted to go to the parties. So I approached them, and we ended up doing some sponsorships with them. So I think we got half cash and half trade from them, I think. And so I had all these tickets for events and for films. And so people were coming to me and getting tickets, and we would interview them, the directors on the AM, and the singers that were some of the musicians that would come to the festival on the FM, and it just turned out to be a wonderful thing. So then when Tomas got elected, he had been a commissioner for a number of years, and when he became elected, he asked me if I would help him with the film industry. So Robert, I can't remember Robert's last name, but he was in charge of the film office at that particular time. And so he was no longer there. So they brought me in, and I had the pleasure of working with some of the film industry. And I had a great pleasure working with the arts community regarding the art festivals and the galleries around town. So it was a wonderful experience. We had Burn Notice at the time.
That was huge.
And I took
right out of Coconut Grove.
It was in Coconut Grove at the Dinner Key Exhibition Center. Yeah. My office was on the second floor. And we would conduct tours, and we would close streets and get police protection to close the streets and everything. It was a great time until, of course, the Florida legislator cut off all the funding for the tax incentives, and then the film industry just dried up, which was terrible. Yeah. Just it's terrible.
Great industry, great jobs.
Yes.
Great exposure from Miami. That was so foolish.
It's very foolish.
You know, I just read something recently where even Hollywood is starting to lose luster because of all these incentives in other states and other countries. They're luring the business, even from LA. Yeah. So LA is having to up its game in terms of these incentives. They're really important.
Well, we've never been able to return to those days. No. You don't see any Burn Notice taking place down here anymore. Occasionally a commercial, occasionally a film, and then I think Dade County has come up with some kind of a scheme to have some kind of funds, but it's nowhere near what is required to make a film these days.
Well, it sounds like it was a fascinating experience.
It was a great experience.
You can write some books, and then I could have you on my other podcast.
Okay, it would be my pleasure.
So, Harry, we're almost out of time, but let's get back to mobility, and I'm going to let you have the final word here. You, more than just about anyone I've met, kind of embody this car-free lifestyle and have demonstrated that it's possible. We may not have the ideal environment, but if you're committed to it, you can make it work. So tell us about the car-free lifestyle in Miami, and then end with this. If you were the omnipotent mayor of Miami-Dade County with all the power, and you could make one thing happen, one thing, what would it be?
Well,
I know there are many things you'd like to see done.
I would want the elevators to be working more often. I would want
one thing.
That would be the one thing. I would want the trains to have cleaner windows. Yeah. I would like to see the poor souls that are unhoused, find better places to settle in. I would like to see the trains working a little bit more efficiently. But having a first and last mile transportation, which is my bike, getting to the Metro Rail, the combination is ideal.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, but it's perfect for me. I live in an apartment in Coconut Grove. I bring the bike inside. It's never going to be stolen. I bring it on the train. It's always with me. It's very convenient. If the elevator, like I said earlier, if the elevator is not working, I can schlep it upstairs. I can schlep it downstairs. It's just perfect for me. I would like to see more bike lanes. I would like to see better bike trails. I would like to see the Commodore Trail improved. The bricks are falling apart. They're dangerous. The tree roots are dangerous. The Old Cutler Trail is the one I use a lot, and it's just in terrible condition. And it would be a wonderful thing if the Transportation Department or Public Works were to fix these things.
So if I could summarize all of that into one thing, it would be, let's focus on making what we have better, make it work.
By far.
Right. So I know we talk about expansion a lot, expanding the system, and certainly we want to do that, but let's fix what we have.
We need to fix what we have. We also have this opportunity, and I think we talked about this earlier, about repurposing the easements that are next to some of the canals. I think you came up with a term.
Swales to trails.
Swales to trails.
I'm not going to take full credit for it. I heard that from Joe Curbello, who was one of my board members. Yeah.
So there's rails to trails, which is extremely successful. So why not more swales to trails? Look at the underline. Look at the success that Meg Daly has had with the underline. It is just wonderful. For those that have not ridden it or walked it, they really should see it. It's really quite an amazing feat. And I predict that someday there's going to be a statue to Meg Daly, just like for Julia Tuttle, because this is one of the greatest accomplishments that has ever been made here in South Florida. All they need to do is work on the intersections and make them a little safer for all of us to ride our bikes through them.
I agree with you 100% about Meg Daly. She's amazing. She's a longtime friend and a member of the CITT, I should say. And actually, this is the first time I'm going to say this publicly, but she's going to moderate my book talk at Books and Books on September 22nd. So shout out to Meg, and I'll be there for the unveiling of her statue alongside you, Mary.
Excellent.
Harry, we're out of time, but I want to thank you for being a guest on the program and for having me on yours in a couple of weeks. But more than that, I want to thank you for being such a passionate advocate for mobility and transportation and bike lanes and Metro Rail and all of it. We need those voices. And, it's not something that's always easy to hear when you're working on the other side of it and you're trying to make improvements the best you can. But, we need to hear from the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Javier, very much for all the good work that you do for our community as well.
I appreciate you. And folks, I appreciate you too. I appreciate you tuning in to this episode of Mobility Matters. Please like, subscribe, share, let folks know about it, and keep tuning in. We have some great guests lined up in the coming weeks. I also want to thank, as always, Miami's community newspapers for partnering with us and producing the program. And as always, a special shout out to Enzoni behind the cameras back there, who's nodding along. He does a great job for us. And I never say it, unbelievably, but I need to thank Joey Garcia, who's our digital media coordinator at CITT, for all his great work on this program as well. So